We're fighting against all odds, but I believe that the community see that we are fighting for in their favor and not just to be because we're wearing the uniform and it's us against them. I hate that us against them syndrome because we all have members out there that's not police officers.
I do not know you, but I am your brother.
You do not know me, but I am your protector.
I will run into a burning building to save your life.
Though I do not know your name, I will take a bullet for you.
Though we've never met,
I believe in duty
and sacrifice of self.
Your family is my family.
Is my family. Your life is my duty.
What's going on, guys? Time for another episode of Behind the Uniforms, a very, very special episode. I am incredibly honored to introduce to you this gentleman. We are out here at Angel Armor in Colorado. First of all, you look pretty familiar when I walked in. Can you tell everybody who you are?
I'm Timothy Johnson. I'm the City of Flint Police Chief for the City of Flint.
Now, you're sort of a big deal now. You're a pretty humble guy, but you've got a show that just came out, right?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what's that show?
It's called Flint Town. Netflix did a documentary on the city of Flint, Michigan. And it was uncut, uncensored, unscripted version of what we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Awesome. So I'm going to let everybody, including myself, sort of watch that.
Okay.
But today I want to talk to you a little bit about your backstory, about how you got into, I heard you share a very powerful story early on, and I think it's something that would really resonate with a lot of people. So give me a little bit about it.
I graduated from high school in '78. I started my career in the United States Air Force Security Police as a law enforcement officer. I spent 12 years serving in the military, and after I got out, I actually started working for the Wayne County Sheriff Department, and from there I moved from Wayne County or Detroit to the city of Flint, Michigan, and of course that's where I'm at still today. Most of my career was spent undercover. It was narcotics, and I was chasing down homicide suspects and drug dealers. We started at the top. I know a lot of people that start at the bottom, but we actually hit the top because that's where the big ones was at. Love what I do, love my career. I'm married, I have 5 children, beautiful wife at home who I couldn't bring with me, but I'm enjoying myself here. So,
let's talk a little bit about the challenges that you've worked to overcome in Flint.
Well, in the city of Flint, when I first took over, we were, I saw that we were, the police department and the community was not together at all. There was a gap there, and we had to bridge that gap. It took a lot of trying to figure out what went wrong. Where did we lose our community at? And because if anybody don't know, the community is the backbone of any police department, no matter how you slice it. If you don't have the community working with you, you're fighting up against a brick wall. So I went out and I did some things in the community, and I had numerous conversations with the police officers and my upper chain of command, and we bridged that gap. We bridged that gap. Now we have civilians volunteering to work in the police department. We have civilian volunteers volunteering to be reserve officers. We have a community now that really shows us a lot of respect, a lot of love. So we were fighting against all odds, but I believe that the community see that we are fighting for in their favor and not just to be because we're wearing the uniform and it's us against them. I hate that us against them syndrome because we all have members out there that's not police officers. And I try to show the citizens in the city of Flint that we love them so much, we appreciate them, and I see a line of trust coming back now, to where that trust was definitely not there when I first took office. As you know, we was one of the most crime-ridden cities in the state of Michigan, and actually in the world. We were #1 at one point in time. Then I think we were in the top 3, where we're not even in the top 50 the last time I checked, and that was about maybe 3 weeks ago. We fought hard to restructure that police department to better serve the citizens in Flint, and that's exactly my platform I'm going to stand on. I'm going to continue to restructure it till we have a police department and a community that's so engaged that when they walk through that front door of that police department, they know that this is my house. It's not just because the officers are wearing the uniforms that it's their house, but it's the citizens' house too, and they got every right to be there. And I have an open door policy where they can come in and speak to me. And if they can't get me, I have a deputy chief and I have captains, and then I have my right hand who's a sergeant, and we make sure that we try to accommodate the citizens when they come in, even if they're coming in to complain. Let us know when we're doing wrong. You know, we're not perfect. We try to be, but you know, we make mistakes also. So let us know when we're doing wrong, and believe me, they don't mind coming and telling us when we're wrong either. So, but we accept that. We do. We take the good with the bad. I tell the media all the time, we don't mind you reporting something. Just be fair about it. You know, when we do something good, fine. When we do something bad, you hold us to the task, because that's what keeps us, you know, on our toes to do the right job and serve the citizens the way we should. So. Yeah. How
do you think they did with the Netflix show in terms of fairness of documenting?
Well, it was uncut, uncensored, and it was a true version of what was going on in the city. Some people pretty much didn't like it because it showed too much of a true version, but we really didn't block anything from them. We didn't keep anything from them. They saw what we saw on a daily basis. Actually, we forgot they were there a lot of times. Sometimes they got in the car with me, and they got to ride along with me, and they mic'd up the car and they did some things, and they were just right there, hands on. They went into a lot of meetings with us, with the mayor's office and with city council, and nothing was held back from them. They got to go where we went, you know.
You talk a lot about sort of this us versus them mentality that we see in society sometimes, and you talk a lot about overcoming that.
Yes.
As we see, you know, fighting factions of Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives versus All Lives, how do we begin bridging that gap?
You know, I tell you, first of all, I like to say all lives matter. It should have never been a color or a race put on that. When you talk about lives mattering, every life matter. And I said it before, when we grew up as little kids, we play together, we eat together, we laugh together, and you don't even see race. You don't see it until you grow up or somebody puts something in you and it gives you a negative whatever. But as little children, you can put them out there in a little a sandbox, and they'll play together to the day's end. And it's not about the race. They don't know anything about race, you know. So I wish they would have started out with all lives matter instead of Black Lives Matter, because every life matter. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I grew up in the melting pot. I grew up in San Francisco. I think the first 6 years of my life, we grew up around Chinese, Japanese, Hispanics, blacks, whites, Samoans, you name it. I couldn't even speak some of the languages that they spoke. But I tell you what, I ate at their dinner table, and even though I didn't understand the mom and dad speak language, the kids spoke. We spoke the same language, and I just didn't see color. We didn't see color, and you know, back in the day, I used to really didn't appreciate that, and I used to say, man, because my wife grew up in a community where she grew up as a kid all the way till she graduated and went to college, and then left that state. And when we go back, you see people, hey, Melinda, and everybody knows her because she grew up in that city. I wanted that, you know, and I kind of had a little bit of a thing about, man, I wish we could have grew up like that, but now I don't. I'm thanking God that my mother and dad took us to a community that was so well-rounded as far as every color was there, and we got a chance, like I say, the melting pot, but we got a chance to socialize with different races and take fishing trips and have sleepovers at their homes, and it didn't matter what color they was. And I tell you, that is really what focused my mind and formed my mind to know. And going out in the community, I don't see color. I see people. So never did and never will.
How has your faith impacted your leadership?
You know, God is good. And from day one, I asked him to direct my path through all of the things that we go through. Even before I even became a police officer, my mom used to tell us all the time, when we had issues, did you pray about it, son? You know, and if we didn't, then she would send us in there to pray. She was a Sunday school teacher, and she heavily relied on God, and she made sure that we knew who he was and what it meant to be a child of God and to appreciate having him in our life. And I grew up with that in the back of my head. And even though when I strayed away, when I went off in the military and started some other things, I tell you, I don't care how far I went away, when things got wrong, I always knew to call on the name of Jesus and to get on my hands and knees and pray my way through. You know, I told him earlier, I didn't mean to open up as much, but I told him earlier about losing my wife, my first wife, and how she was killed. And I tell you, if I wouldn't have had Jesus in my life at that point in time, I wouldn't be standing here today either. You know, a lot of the undercover operations that I went into, especially after that happened, I went into them with everybody thought I was so brave, but it wasn't brave. I really didn't care whether I lived or died. You know, I really didn't. And I knew it was nothing but the grace of God that brought me through it, because some of them I shouldn't have walked away from, you know. And I just thank God that He's got His hands on me and He's leading me and directing me. And I know I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for Him, you know. So, and I mean that sincerely. And I never had an issue of getting in front of any cameras, even when I'm back at home and conversations are going on, and I say, let me start by saying a word of prayer. And people from out in the audience, they look at me. That don't faze me. I don't really care what they believe. I know where my belief is at, because I know who's brought me through everything I've been through in my life. So whether they appreciate it or don't, it doesn't faze me at all.
Absolutely.
You know, you got to stand for what you believe in. So.
Well, brother, it's been an absolute blessing. Thank you for doing this.
Appreciate you.
Guys, it's going to take you 2 seconds to hit the share button. Make sure to go check out this series, because it's going to be my next binge series with my wife. I'm probably not going to be able to work for 4 days. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hitting the share button. I hope that you all help us get these stories out there to keep the men and women who are willing to share those stories safe. So thank you all. God bless America.